The signal came from the darkness between stars, weak and broken. Deep Space Station Omega caught it first, buried in the noise of cosmic radiation. The young technician on duty almost missed it completely, but something about the pattern made him look twice. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Technician Park from his station. His voice carried an edge that made Commander Hyunwoo Kim look up from his morning reports. Hyunwoo walked over, his boots clicking on the metal floor. At 53, he had seen enough strange signals to know when something was different. This felt different. "Play it back," he said. The signal filled the room with static and squealing sounds, but underneath the noise, there was something else. A pattern, a rhythm. It sounded almost like crying. "How long has this been coming through?" Hyunwoo asked. "About 6 hours, sir. It's getting weaker." Hyunwoo frowned. "Send it to Dr. So Young. Park at the language center. Tell her it's urgent." 3 hours later, So Young's voice crackled through the communication system. She sounded excited but tired. "Commander Kim, you need to hear this. I've broken part of the code." The video screen flickered to life, showing So Young in her cluttered office. Papers covered every surface, and empty coffee cups stood like small towers on her desk. Her dark hair was messy, and her eyes were red from staring at computer screens. "This isn't random noise," she said, holding up a printout. "It's a language. A very complex one, but definitely a language. And Commander, it's a distress call." Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. "Are you certain?" "The mathematical patterns are clear. They're asking for help. The signal is coming from a star system about 40 light-years away. Whoever sent this is in serious trouble." Within hours, the message reached Earth. The United Nations Emergency Council met in Geneva, their faces grim as they listened to So Young's translation. "The beings call themselves the Villani," So Young explained to the council. "They're being attacked by something called the Korath Empire. Their colonies are being destroyed one by one. They say they're a peaceful people with no weapons strong enough to fight back." Secretary General Morrison leaned forward. "How do we know this isn't some kind of trick?" So Young shook her head. "The language is too complex, too consistent. No human could create something like this. Besides, why would anyone fake a distress call from 40 light-years away?" Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood up. He had been called to Earth for this meeting, leaving his post at the station. "With respect, sir, that's not the right question. The question is, what kind of people are we if we ignore a call for help?" "The kind that stays alive," replied Defense Minister Chen. "We don't know anything about these aliens. What if helping them makes us enemies of this Korath Empire? Then we deal with that when it happens," Hyunwoo said firmly. "But right now, innocent beings are dying, and we have the power to help them." The debate went on for hours. Some council members worried about the cost. Others feared making enemies in space. A few wondered if humanity was ready for contact with alien civilizations. Finally, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the head of the Science Council, spoke up. "This could be humanity's first chance to make friends among the stars. If we help the Villani, they might help us understand the galaxy." President Chen Wei nodded slowly. "What would we need for a rescue mission?" Hyunwoo had been thinking about this since the first signal arrived. "A small fleet, fast ships with good weapons just in case, maybe 2 destroyers and a support ship. We can be there in 3 weeks if we push the engines hard. And if it's a trap, then we'll be ready for that too." The vote was close. 12 in favor, 8 against, with 2 abstaining. Humanity would answer the call. Captain Taemin Lee got the news while his ship was docked at Mars Station. The UES Incheon was one of Earth's newest destroyers, built for long-range missions. His crew was good, experienced from the recent troubles in the asteroid belt. "Sir, we just got orders from Earth Command," his communication officer said. "We're going to make first contact with aliens." Taemin almost dropped his coffee. "Say that again?" Within 2 days, a small fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. The Incheon led the group, followed by her sister ship Busan and the supply vessel Gwangju. Together, they carried 300 of humanity's best crew members into the unknown. Lieutenant Nari Choi ran final checks on her fighter squadron. 12 small, fast ships hung in the launch bay, ready for anything. She had trained for this moment her whole career, but she never imagined first contact would happen during a rescue mission. "All pilots, listen up," she announced over the radio. "We don't know what we'll find out there. Stay sharp, stay together, and remember your training." Intelligence analyst Seok Jin Yang studied every piece of data they had about the Villani system. It wasn't much. A yellow star, 5 planets, signs of industrial activity on the third world. The distress signals were getting weaker each day. "We might already be too late," he told Hyun-woo privately. "Then we'll make sure whoever did this pays for it," the admiral replied. The journey took 18 days of hard flying. The ships pushed, their engines to the limit, racing through the darkness between stars. Every day, they listened for new signals from the Villani. Sometimes they heard brief transmissions, growing more desperate each time. On the final day of travel, the signals stopped completely. "Maybe they escaped," suggested Communication Officer Min-ah Song hopefully. Hyun-woo stared at the star growing larger on their screens. Something told him the silence meant something much worse. But they had come too far to turn back now. As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Villani system, their sensors immediately detected massive energy signatures. Ships, lots of them. "And they weren't human." "Sir," Seok-jin called out from his station, "I'm picking up what looks like weapons fire near the third planet." Hyun-woo gripped his command chair. Humanity's first contact with aliens was about to begin, but instead of peaceful greeting, they were flying straight into someone else's war. "All ships, battle stations," he ordered. "We came here to help, and that's exactly what we're going to do." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for whatever waited ahead. None of them knew they were about to change the course of galactic history forever. The Villani homeworld burned below them. From the bridge of the Incheon, Admiral Hyun-woo Kim watched cities die. Bright flashes lit up the planet's surface as orbital weapons struck down from above. Even from space, he could see the massive fires, spreading across the continents. "Sir, I count at least 30 enemy ships in orbit," reported Tactical Officer Won-ho John. "They're big." The Korath vessels looked nothing like human ships. Where Earth's destroyers were sleek and angular, these alien craft resembled enormous beetles made of dark metal. They moved slowly but deliberately, their weapons tearing through what remained of the planet's defenses. "Any sign of the Villani fleet?" Hyun-woo asked. "Negative, sir. I'm seeing debris fields where their orbital stations used to be." On the main screen, one of the Korath ships turned toward them. It was easily 5 times larger than the Incheon, covered in weapon ports that glowed with dangerous energy. "Incoming transmission," called Communication Officer Min-ah Song. "It's from the Korath ship. Put it through." The screen filled with the image of something that made several crew members step backward. The Korath commander stood nearly 10 feet tall, with gray skin like stone and 4 arms ending in clawed hands. Its eyes burned red in a face that looked carved from rock. When it spoke, the translation computer struggled to keep up. "Small ships of unknown origin. You have entered Korath space during a lawful expansion. Depart now or be destroyed with the natives." Hyun-woo stood up slowly. Behind him, he could feel his crew waiting for his response. This was it. Humanity's first words to an alien civilization. "This is Admiral Kim of the United Earth Fleet. The Villani sent us a distress call asking for help. We're here to provide humanitarian aid." The Korath commander's expression didn't change. "The Villani are weak. They will serve the Empire or die. You will depart now." "I'm afraid I can't do that." For a long moment, silence filled the bridge. Then the alien's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then you will die with them." The transmission cut off. Almost immediately, 3 Korath. Ships began moving toward the human fleet. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Hyunwoo ordered. "Weapons free. Show them what Earth can do." The first Korath energy beam missed the Incheon by meters, leaving a glowing trail in space. Captain Tae-min Lee threw his ship into a spinning dive that would have killed anyone not strapped in. "Return fire!" Hyunwoo shouted. The Incheons. Railguns spoke with thunder. Solid metal slugs, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, slammed into the lead Korath ship. The alien vessel's energy shields flared bright blue, absorbing the impact. "No damage to the target," Won-ho reported. "Their shields are too strong." But as they watched, something unexpected happened. The Korath ship stumbled in its flight path, its engines flickering. The kinetic impact had disrupted something. "Hit them again!" Tae-min ordered. This time, all 3 human ships fired together. Dozens of railgun rounds hammered into the Korath vessel. The shields held, but barely. Cracks of light spread across the energy barrier like broken glass. The alien ship returned fire, but its aim was wild. The energy beam went wide, missing the human fleet completely. "Sir, I think their targeting systems are offline," Won-ho said, with excitement. "The kinetic impacts are scrambling their electronics." Hyunwoo smiled grimly. "Then let's scramble them some more." The space battle raged for 30 minutes. The Korath ships were bigger and more heavily armed, but they had never faced weapons like human railguns before. Their energy shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at incredible speed. One by one, the alien ships fell silent. Their hulls cracked open like eggs, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. But the victory came with a cost. The supply ship Gwangju took a direct hit, her entire front section destroyed. 40 good people died in that single blast. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the planet," Minna announced. "It's the Vellani." The screen showed a being that looked almost human, but with blue-tinged skin and large dark eyes. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical, even through the translation computer. "Earth ships, this is High Counselor Tem-Ara of the Vellani Republic. We cannot believe you came. We thought all hope was lost. We received your distress call," Hyunwoo replied. "How many of you are left?" The alien's expression grew sad. "Perhaps 2 million on the homeworld. The Korath have destroyed 17 of our colonies. We are all that remains of our people. Then we'd better get you out of there. Prepare for evacuation." "But the Korath will return with more ships. You cannot fight their entire empire." Hyunwoo looked around his bridge. Every face showed the same determination. "Let us worry about that." Colonel Ji-hoon Kang led the first shuttles down to the planet's surface. His Marines had trained for hostile environments, but nothing had prepared them for this. The Vellani capital city looked like a war zone. Buildings lay in ruins, they're elegant. Spires broken and smoking. Bodies filled the streets. Not human bodies, but the remains of beings who had lived and loved just like people on Earth. "Jesus," whispered Sergeant Park as they moved through the devastation. "What kind of monsters? Do this to civilians?" The surviving Vellani huddled in underground shelters, afraid to come out. When they saw the human soldiers, many began to weep, not from fear, but from relief. Dr. Yoonji Lim set up a medical station in what used to be a hospital. The wounded Vellani were brought to her one by one. She quickly learned that their physiology was far more delicate than human biology. "Their bones are like hollow bird bones," she reported to Hyunwoo. "Light but fragile. An injury that would barely slow down a human could kill one of them." One young Vellani, barely more than a child, had been trapped under rubble for hours. Both of his legs were broken, and he had lost a lot of blood. Any human with those injuries would have been unconscious or dead, but the child was still awake, still talking to his parents. He looked at Dr. Lim with wonder in his large eyes. "You came from the Death World, didn't you?" he asked in perfect English. "The place where everything tries to kill you?" Yunji didn't understand. Death World. An older Villani, probably the child's father, explained. "Your planet is classified as a Class 12 Death World in the galactic records. Most species cannot survive there for even a day. We thought nothing intelligent could evolve in such a place." "But you did," the child continued. "You grew strong because everything on your world is dangerous. That's why you can help us fight the Korath." As the evacuation continued, more Korath ships appeared at the edge of the system. Bigger ships this time. Warships that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. The lead ship transmitted a message. The voice belonged to a different Korath, one with even more scars and battle decorations. "I am War Commander Thekvar of the 15th Expansion Fleet. You have interfered with Korath operations and destroyed Imperial vessels. This is an act of war." Yunwu activated the communication system. In the background, his crew continued loading. "Villani refugees onto every available transport. This is Admiral Kim. We're conducting a humanitarian rescue. Once we've evacuated the civilians, we'll leave your space." "Unacceptable. You will surrender immediately. Your deaths will be quick if you comply." Yunwu looked at the tactical display. 15 Korath warships against his 3 battered vessels. The odds were impossible. But behind him, he could hear the voices of Villani children being carried to safety, children who would die if he surrendered. "War Commander Thekvar, I have a counteroffer," Yunwu said calmly. "You can go to hell." The alien's roar of rage echoed through the bridge before the transmission cut off. Within minutes, the Korath fleet began its approach. As the enemy ships closed in, Yunwu activated his emergency transmitter. The message would take weeks to reach Earth, but it would get there eventually. "Command, this is Admiral Kim. First, contact has been established. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and there are people who need our help. Send everything you've got." The battle for the Villani homeworld was about to begin. President Jae-sung-ro stood before the United Nations General Assembly, his face grave as he read Admiral Kim's final transmission. The Great Hall fell silent as the words echoed through speakers around the world. "Send everything you've got." The message ended. Then nothing but static. Behind the president, massive screens showed what Earth's telescopes had detected. 15 Korath warships surrounding the tiny human fleet. The battle would be over by the time any help could arrive. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Rowe said quietly, 3 days ago, we lost contact with Admiral Kim's fleet. We must assume they gave their lives protecting innocent civilians from an empire that kills for sport." Angry voices filled the assembly. Representatives shouted questions, demands, accusations, but the president raised his hand for silence. "The Korath Empire has sent us their own message," he continued. "They demand we surrender all our military forces and submit to their rule. They say Earth will become a slave world in their growing empire." The screens changed to show the alien transmission. War Commander Thekvar's scarred face filled the view, his red eyes burning with contempt. "Humans of the Death World called Earth," the translated voice said. "Your pathetic ships have been destroyed. Your Admiral Kim died screaming like the animal he was. Submit now, and we may allow some of your species to live as servants." The assembly erupted. Voices rose in fear, anger, and outrage. Some called for immediate surrender. Others demanded revenge. But President Rowe's next words cut through the chaos. "The Korath Empire has made a mistake," he said, his voice carrying deadly calm. "They think we sent everything we had to help the Villani. They think 3 ships represent Earth's full military power." General Hae-jin Kwon stepped forward. At 45, she had led the successful defense of Mars Colony and commanded respect throughout the military. Her presence alone made the room. "Quiet down. Mr. President, Earth Command is ready to implement Protocol 7. Every representative knew what Protocol 7 meant. Total war mobilization. Every factory converted to weapon production. Every shipyard building warships. Every able-bodied citizen trained for combat. The Korath want to see what a death world can do, President Rowe said. Let's show them. Within hours, Earth transformed. Civilian spacecraft were recalled to be fitted with weapons. Mining stations in the asteroid belt began producing armor plating instead of raw materials. Even the luxury cruise ships were converted into troop transports. Chief Engineer Byung-ho Kim worked 18-hour days coordinating the largest industrial effort in human history. Factories that had been making cars and computers now produced. Missiles and railgun ammunition, the entire planet became a weapons factory. Sir, the numbers are incredible, his assistant reported. We're building ships faster than we ever built anything before. The first battle group will be ready in 6 weeks. Not fast enough, Byung-ho muttered. Those aliens killed Kim and his people. They're going to pay for that. On the other side of Earth, Propaganda Minister Eugene Park created the message that would unite humanity like nothing before. Her broadcasts played on every screen, every radio, every communication device on Earth and its colonies. The holographic display showed images of the destroyed Vellani cities, then Admiral Kim's final message. Eugene's voice was clear and strong, as she spoke to 7 billion humans. They call us Deathworlders, she said. They think that makes us monsters. But they're wrong. We're not monsters. We're guardians. When innocent people cry for help, we answer. When bullies attack the weak, we fight back. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. Young people who had never held a weapon demanded combat training. Retired soldiers came out of civilian life to serve again. But the most important volunteers came from an unexpected place. Tem Ara, the Vellani High Counselor, had been evacuated to Luna Base before. Admiral Kim's final battle. Now she stood before the UN Assembly with tears in her large, dark eyes. Admiral Kim and his people died saving my children, she said through the translator. The Vellani have no weapons, no warships, no soldiers. But we have something else. We have knowledge. The screens changed to show technical diagrams and star charts. Information that had taken the Vellani centuries to gather. Korath ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. Their shields work well against energy weapons, but your railguns can penetrate them. Their targeting systems cannot track small, fast objects. Most importantly, they are arrogant. They believe no species can match their technology. Intelligence analyst Won-Sik Han studied the Vellani data with growing excitement. The aliens had provided detailed information about Korath. Military tactics, ship designs, and even the location of their major bases. This is incredible, he told General Kwan. The Korath have been using the same strategies for centuries. They've never had to adapt because no one ever fought back effectively. Then it's time they learned some new tricks, the general replied. Special. Forces Captain Chang Min Lee received his orders while training in the Australian desert. His mission was classified at the highest level, known only to a handful of people. You and your team will be inserted behind enemy lines, his commanding officer explained. The Vellani have provided coordinates for Korath supply bases. Hit them hard. Disappear. Hit them again. Make them afraid. Chang Min smiled grimly. His team had been trained for impossible missions. This was just another day at the office. Meanwhile, in the shipyards of Luna, Mars, and the asteroid belt, humanity's new battle fleet took shape. These weren't the exploration vessels of the past. These were warships, built for one purpose, to bring the fight to Earth's enemies. The new destroyers were twice the size of Kim's ships, with heavier armor and more powerful weapons. The cruisers carried enough firepower to level cities. The massive battleships were mobile fortresses, bristling with railguns and missile launchers. But the most important ships were the smallest ones. Based on Lieutenant Nari Choi's fighter designs, the new interceptors were fast, maneuverable, and cheap to build. Hundreds of them could swarm around enemy ships like angry wasps. Fighter pilot trainee So Young Kim practiced the new tactics every day. She was too young to have known the original Nari Choi, but she carried the woman's memory with her into every simulation. "Remember," her instructor said, "the Korath can't track you if you keep moving. Stay fast, stay random, and hit them where they don't expect it." As the weeks passed, the first signs of humanity's response began to appear across the galaxy. Korath supply convoys vanished without trace. Remote bases went silent. Patrol ships reported strange attacks by unknown vessels that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Chang Min's special forces teams were doing their job, but the real message came when Earth's first battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Korath territory. 50 human warships carrying weapons designed specifically to kill Korath vessels. Admiral Sang-Woo Jong, Kim's former second-in-command, led the fleet. He had been promoted after the disaster at the Vellani homeworld, and he carried a personal grudge against every Korath in the galaxy. "All ships, this is Admiral Jeong," he announced on the fleet frequency. "We're not here to rescue anyone this time. We're here to collect a debt." The Korath border station detected the human fleet and immediately sent out a challenge. Their commander appeared on screen, showing the same arrogant sneer that had become familiar to human forces. "Unknown ships. You are entering Korath space without permission. State your business or be destroyed." Sang-Woo looked at the alien with cold hatred. "My business is simple. Admiral Kim was a friend of mine. You killed him. Now I'm going to kill you!" The Korath commander laughed. "Your Admiral Kim died like a coward, begging for mercy as our ships tore his pathetic vessels apart." "Is that what your people told you?" Sang-Woo asked. "Let me tell you what really happened." The main screen changed to show combat footage from Kim's final battle. The video had been recovered from the wreckage by a secret human salvage mission. It showed Kim's tiny fleet fighting against impossible odds, covering the evacuation of Vellani civilians even as their own ships were torn apart. "Your Admiral Kim destroyed 7 of our ships," Sang-Woo continued. "He saved 2 million innocent people. He died with honor, which is more than I can say for your empire." The alien's expression changed from amusement to rage. "You dare insult the Korath Empire? We will crush your pathetic species like insects." "Try it," Sang-Woo replied. Then he cut the transmission and opened fire. The battle was brief, but devastating. The Korath had been expecting another small human force like Kim's. Instead, they faced 50 state-of-the-art warships designed specifically to counter their technology. Human railguns punched through Korath shields like paper. Swarms of fighters danced around the alien ships, firing missiles from every direction. The proud Korath border fleet was reduced to scrap metal in less than an hour. As the last enemy ship exploded, Sang-Woo activated the emergency broadcast system. His message would be received by every Korath base, every ship, every commander in their empire. "This is Admiral Jeong of the United Earth Fleet. You killed our people. You threatened our friends. You called us Deathworlders like it was an insult. You were right about one thing. Earth is a death world, and now that death is coming for you." The war had been raging for 8 months when starfighter ace Jun-Ho Bae achieved his 47th confirmed kill. His interceptor spun through the debris field that had once been the Korath 7th Fleet, hunting for survivors. The enemy ships burned like dying stars against the darkness of space, their hulls cracked open by human railgun fire. "Lightning 7, this is Control," came the voice through his helmet radio. "Return to base. The field is clear." Jun-Ho pulled, his fighter into a tight turn, heading back toward the human battle fleet. Through his canopy, he could see the massive shape of the UES Seoul, Admiral Sang-Woo Jong's flagship. The battleship's armor was scarred from dozens of battles, but her weapons remained ready. "Another glorious victory for Earth," Jun-Ho muttered to himself. But the words felt hollow. Each win brought them deeper into Korath space, farther from home, and closer to something that made him uneasy. The Korath were fighting harder now, more desperately. Their tactics had changed from arrogant frontal attacks to desperate ambushes and suicide runs. Something was driving them beyond normal. Military logic. On the Bridge of the Soul, Admiral Sang-woo studied the tactical reports with growing concern. His fleet had just destroyed another major Korath base, but the enemy's behavior was becoming more puzzling. "Sir, we've captured several Korath survivors," reported Intelligence Officer Yeon Soo-han. "They're asking for protection." Sang-woo looked up from his displays. "Protection? From us?" "No, sir. From something else. They keep mentioning something called the Devourers and saying we've doomed the galaxy by pushing them deeper into Korath space." Before Sang-woo could respond, Communications Officer Dalho Park interrupted. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the diplomatic ship Busan. Ambassador Mi-young Shin has successfully negotiated with the Threx Commonwealth." The main screen lit up with an image of Ambassador Shin standing beside a tall, insectoid alien. The Threx looked like a giant praying mantis, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected rainbow colors. "Admiral Jong," Mi-young said formally, "I present Ambassador Klixtar of the Threx Commonwealth. They wish to join our alliance against the Korath Empire." The alien spoke in a clicking, buzzing voice that the translation computer struggled to process. "The humans fight as no species has fought before. The Korath flee before you like prey before predators. The Threx offer our industrial capacity to your war effort." Sang-woo bowed slightly, a gesture he had learned from the diplomatic training manual. "We welcome the Threx as allies in our fight for galactic freedom." But privately, he wondered what the Korath were really running from. His question was answered 3 days later when long-range sensors detected something impossible. Deep space. Probe Horizon 7 had been deployed beyond Korath territory, mapping the unexplored regions. Its final transmission showed something that made the entire human command structure go cold. "Command, this is Probe 7, came the automated message. "Detecting massive energy signatures in the void sector. Ships of unknown design." "Wait, they're not ships. Oh God, they're machines. Hundreds of them. They're consuming everything in their path. Stars, planets, everything. They're heading this way and they're—" The transmission cut to static. Emergency meetings were called across human space. On Earth, President Rowe listened to the probe's data with growing horror. On Luna Base, General Kwan mobilized every available ship. In the field, Admiral Sang-woo prepared his fleet for something far worse than the Korath. The truth came from an unexpected source. War Commander Thekvar, the same Korath who had killed Admiral Kim, was brought aboard the Soul under a flag of truce. The proud alien warrior looked broken, his 4 arms shaking with fear. "Your species has made a terrible mistake," he said through the translator. "The Korath Empire was not conquering for glory or resources. We were fleeing. The Devourers have been consuming our home galaxy for centuries. We came here seeking new worlds to replace what we lost." Sang-woo leaned forward in his command chair. "You're telling me your entire war of conquest was actually a refugee crisis?" "The Devourers are machines left behind by a dead civilization. They break down matter at the molecular level and rebuild it into more of themselves. Every planet they touch becomes a factory for their kind. Every star becomes fuel for their expansion." The alien's red eyes burned with desperate honesty. "Your attacks have driven our fleets back toward the void. Now the Devourers know there is life in this galaxy. They are coming and nothing can stop them." On Earth, Dr. Soo-jin-oh worked frantically to understand the threat. The captured Devourer technology made no sense according to human physics. The machines seemed to violate conservation laws, creating matter and energy from nothing. "They're not just machines," she reported to the Emergency Council. "They're von Neumann probes taken to the logical extreme, self-replicating, self-improving, and completely hostile to organic life. They see all biological matter as raw materials. "How do we fight them?" asked General Quan. "I don't know if we can. The Korath tried for 300 years and barely slowed them down. But maybe we can do something they couldn't." "What's that?" Su Jin pulled up the battle reports from the Human-Korath War. "Unite the galaxy. The Korath fought alone because they considered other species inferior. We've proven that cooperation makes us stronger." Within weeks, human diplomats were racing across known space. Ambassador Mi Young led the effort, bringing together species that had never worked together before. The peaceful Velani offered their advanced sensors. The industrial Threx provided manufacturing capacity. Even small trading empires contributed what they could. But the most important alliance came from the most unexpected source. Emperor Vexthor of the Korath Empire arrived at the human fleet aboard a ship flying white flags of surrender. The massive alien ruler, scarred from centuries of war, knelt before Admiral Sang-woo in a gesture that shocked both species. "Admiral Zhong, I formally surrender the Korath Empire to human authority," he said in perfect English. "In exchange, I ask that you defend my remaining people from the Devourers." The gesture was broadcast across the galaxy. The proud Korath, who had terrorized dozens of species, were now asking their former enemies for protection. Sang-woo helped the alien emperor to his feet. "Your Majesty, we're not here to conquer anyone. We're here to protect everyone." The first Devourer scouts arrived in the Outer Rim 3 weeks later. Probe ships made of dark metal, utterly silent, completely hostile to all life. They destroyed 3 colonies before the combined galactic fleet could respond. Captain Woo Jin Kim commanded the experimental ship UES Andromeda, built with technology from 6 different species. His crew included humans, Korath, Threx, Velani, and even a few volunteers from smaller empires. "This is what Admiral Kim would have wanted," he told his mixed crew as they approached the first Devourer formation, "all of us working together, protecting those who can't protect themselves." The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Human tactics, Korath weapons, Threx engineering, and Velani sensors combined into something greater than any single species could achieve. But for every Devourer ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. The machines were learning, adapting, improving their designs with each encounter. "Sir," reported his Korath tactical officer, "they're replicating faster than we can destroy them. At this rate, they'll overrun the Outer Rim in 6 months." Woo Jin stared at the tactical display, watching red dots multiply like a disease. The galaxy's first united fleet was fighting for its life, but it might not be enough. Then a new voice crackled over the communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Hyunwoo Kim aboard the UES Incheon Reborn. Sorry we're late to the party." The main screen showed something that made Woo Jin's crew cheer. The original Admiral Kim, scarred but alive, stood on the bridge of a massive new battleship. Behind him came the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. "Sir," Woo Jin said with relief, "it's good to have you back." "Good to be back, Captain. Now let's show these machines what happens when you threaten our friends." The real battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The final battle began at the edge of the galaxy. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Incheon Reborn, watching the largest fleet in galactic history prepare for war. 5,000 ships from 12 different species filled the darkness of space, their weapons charged and ready. But ahead of them, the Devourer mothership blotted out the stars. The machine was larger than a moon, its black surface covered with construction bays that produced new Devourer ships every few minutes. Energy patterns crawled across its hull like living lightning, feeding on the matter it had consumed from a dozen star systems. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Won-ho Jian, "we're detecting over 50,000 enemy contacts. They're still building more." Hyunwoo had survived the original battle at the Velani homeworld by hiding in the wreckage of his ship. The Korath had thought him dead, but Volani rescue teams had found him floating in space, barely alive. Now, 2 years later, he commanded the greatest military force in galactic history. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim," he announced on the fleet frequency. 2 years ago, the Volani sent Earth a simple message asking for help. Today, we're here with friends from across the galaxy to answer that call one final time. On the experimental ship Sol 2, Dr. Su-Jin-Oh made final adjustments to the quantum cascade weapon. The device looked simple enough. A silver cylinder, about the size of a person, but it contained enough concentrated energy to tear holes in reality itself. "The theory is sound," she told Captain Do-hyun Park over the communication system. "If we can get this weapon close enough to the mothership's central core, the cascade reaction will spread through their entire network. Every devourer in the galaxy will shut down simultaneously." Do-hyun studied the tactical display. Between his ship and the mothership lay thousands of enemy vessels, each one designed specifically to kill organic life. "How close is close enough?" he asked. "Direct contact with the central core. The weapon has to be placed by hand." Do-hyun understood what that meant. Whoever delivered the weapon wouldn't be coming back. The battle opened with the largest artillery barrage in galactic history. Human railguns, Korath energy cannons, Threx missile swarms, and Volani disruptor beams all fired at once. The combined firepower of 12 species lit up the darkness like a newborn star. The Devourers responded with mechanical precision. Their ships moved in perfect formation, each one supporting the others. They had no fear, no hesitation, no concern for individual survival. They were the perfect war machines, but they had never faced the imperfect chaos of organic cooperation. Starfighter pilot Jun-Ho Bae led his mixed squadron through the enemy formation. His wing included human interceptors, Korath assault craft, and Threx bombers. They moved like a school of fish, unpredictable and adaptive. "Remember," Jun-Ho called over the radio, "the machines can calculate optimal tactics, but they can't predict crazy ones. Stay random, stay alive." His squadron danced between the massive Devourer ships, hitting weak points and disappearing before the enemy could respond. It was a technique no military academy would teach, but it worked. On the ground, or what passed. For ground on a machine the size of a moon, Marine General Gi-tae-moon led the most desperate assault in human history. His mixed force of soldiers from 6 species had landed on the mothership's surface, fighting their way toward the central core. The Devourer defenses were unlike anything they had trained for. Mechanical spiders the size of trucks crawled across the ship's hull, their cutting beams slicing through armor like tissue paper. Automated defense turrets emerged from hidden ports, firing streams of molten metal. But the organic soldiers had something the machines didn't understand, the ability to adapt in real time. "Use the broken terrain," Gi-tae ordered his troops. "These things are programmed for smooth surfaces. Make them fight in the rubble." Korath warriors used their 4 arms to move across twisted metal like jungle gyms. Threx soldiers flew short distances with natural wing slits. Human marines crawled through spaces too small for the mechanical defenders. Step by bloody step, they fought deeper into the mothership. In space, the battle raged with increasing desperation. The combined fleet was losing ships faster than they could replace them. For every Devourer destroyed, 3 more took its place. Admiral Sang-woo Jeong, commanding the left flank, watched his formation shrink as enemy fire picked off his vessels one by one. The UES Busan exploded in a ball of fire, taking 800 crew members with her. "Sir, we can't maintain this rate of attrition," his tactical officer reported. "At this rate, we'll lose the entire fleet in 4 hours. Sang-woo gripped his command chair. "Then we'd better finish this in 3. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Hae-won-yu, a former Korath prisoner who had been studying Devourer technology, made a crucial discovery. "The machines are networked," she announced from her research station. "They share information instantly across the entire fleet. But that's also their weakness. If we can overload their communication system, they'll lose coordination. How do we overload it? Asked Admiral Kim. Feed them something they can't process. Pure chaos. Random data with no pattern or logic. The solution was elegantly simple. Every ship in the fleet began broadcasting on all frequencies at once. Combat recordings, personal messages, even music and poetry. The human ships broadcast. Everything from classical symphonies to heavy metal. The Villani added their telepathic songs. The Korath contributed their war chants. The effect on the Devourers was immediate and dramatic. Their perfect formations began to waver. Ships collided with each other as their navigation systems tried to process the flood of meaningless data. Some vessels simply stopped moving entirely, overwhelmed by information they couldn't categorize. "It's working," reported communications. Officer Minna Song. "Their response time is dropping by 30%. But the victory was temporary. Already the machines were adapting, filtering out the chaotic signals and returning to their deadly efficiency. On the mothership's surface, Gite's assault force reached the final barrier. The central core lay behind a wall of pure energy that no weapon could penetrate. The only way through was a narrow maintenance shaft barely large enough for one person. Captain Do-hyun Park stepped forward, carrying the quantum cascade weapon. Around him, soldiers from 12 different species looked on silently. They all knew what this moment meant. "Sir," said Sergeant Kim, one of Do-hyun's oldest friends, "let me take it. You have a family." Do-hyun smiled sadly. "So do all of you. So does everyone in the galaxy. That's exactly why it has to be me." He entered the shaft as the battle raged overhead. Behind him, he could hear the sound of his friends fighting and dying to give him these precious minutes. The central core was beautiful in a terrifying way. Patterns of light flowed through crystalline structures, processing information from across the galaxy. This was the brain of the Devourer network, the intelligence that had consumed entire civilizations. Do-hyun attached the quantum cascade weapon to the core's primary interface. The device activated automatically, its silver surface beginning to glow with dangerous energy. "All ships, this is Captain Park," he announced over the fleet frequency. "The weapon is armed. Recommend immediate withdrawal to minimum safe distance." "Negative, Captain," came Admiral Kim's voice. "We're not leaving you behind." "With respect, sir, you have to. This is what we came here to do." Through his helmet radio, Do-hyun could hear voices from across the fleet. Human voices, Korath voices, Threx clicks, Villani songs. All of them saying the same thing. "Thank you." "Admiral Kim," Do-hyun said quietly, "tell my wife I kept my promise. Tell her I helped save the galaxy." The quantum cascade began 30 seconds later. Reality itself seemed to twist around the weapon as it released energy that existed outside normal physics. The effect spread through the mothership's core like wildfire, then jumped to every connected devourer across the galaxy. One by one, the machine ships went dark. Their perfect formations broke apart as individual vessels lost power and drifted helplessly through space. The great mothership, which had consumed the resources of 1,000 worlds, cracked apart like an eggshell. The silence that followed was deafening. After 2 years of constant warfare, the sudden quiet felt unnatural. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim," came the announcement. "The Devourer network has been neutralized. The galaxy is safe. Across 5,000 ships, beings from 12 different species began to cheer. The victory celebration lasted 3 days. On the Villani homeworld, which had been rebuilt with help from the entire Galactic Alliance, representatives from every known species gathered to sign the Treaty of Eternal Peace. High Counselor Tem Ara, now old and gray but still dignified, spoke for all of them. 2 years ago, my people sent a desperate call into the darkness, hoping someone would hear us. We never imagined that call would bring together the greatest alliance in galactic history. She turned to Admiral Kim, who wore the new uniform of Supreme Commander of Allied Forces. Your species answered our call when no one else would. You fought for us when we couldn't fight for ourselves. You showed the galaxy that strength should be used to protect, not conquer. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, received by billions of beings on thousands of worlds. The message was simple but profound. No species would ever face extinction alone.